What if the end isn't actually the end? What if everything we've always thought about death is, well, plain wrong? Welcome, viewers, to the Quantum Soul channel.
Glad to be here.
We're going to dive deep today into some pretty mind-blowing concepts about death and what might or might not be on the other side.
I think viewers will be fascinated.
Absolutely. We're going to be focusing on the ideas of Darius J. Wright.
Oh, an amazing thinker. He really pushes the boundaries of how we think about, well, everything, but particularly death.
Right, and his central question is, what if death is just the beginning? What if it's not an end, but a transition, a liberation, an upgrade?
I mean, it goes against everything we're taught, right? We're conditioned to fear death.
Yeah, it's like it's programmed into us. But Darius Wright calls that fear cosmic fake news.
Which is a pretty powerful way of putting it. He actually claims to have seen what's on the other side. And, well, he says it's not what we think.
Not even close.
Right, so in this deep dive, we're going to explore these ideas. Is death an upgrade? Is it an expansion of consciousness? Is it even possible that it's a gift?
Yeah, some pretty huge questions. So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
One of the most intriguing ideas that Darius Wright presents is this concept of death as an upgrade. He calls it soul version 2.0, almost like our current life is a beta test.
Yeah, kind of rough draft.
Yeah.
And death. Death is the official release.
Yeah.
Like with software, right? You have the beta version, you work out the kinks, and then boom, you have the final polished product.
Exactly. So what does that mean for the soul? What kind of bugs are getting fixed in this upgrade?
Well, he doesn't give specifics. It's more about this idea that we're limited in this current human form. We have our physical senses, our ego, our, all our baggage.
The human condition.
Exactly. And maybe death is about shedding those limitations, those bugs.
Right. And then there's this fascinating gamer analogy that Darius Wright uses, like life is the beta version of the game, death is the official release, and suddenly you have all these new levels, new abilities, new universes to explore.
I love that analogy. It's like leveling up in a video game, right? You gain new powers, access to new realms.
Totally. It really makes you think, if death is this kind of upgrade, what does that mean for our responsibilities? I mean, if we're talking about eternal life or existence across multiple dimensions, are we ready for that?
That's the big question, right? And it ties into the whole concept of quantum theory. The idea that consciousness exists outside the physical body.
Right. That consciousness is information, and information can be, it can be stored, transmitted, maybe even uploaded.
Exactly. Darius Wright uses this analogy of our brain being like a hard drive in HD, storing all the data of our consciousness. And death becomes like backing up that data to a universal server, to a cosmic cloud.
Like a giant cosmic internet.
Pretty much. It sounds crazy, I know, but who knows? Maybe we're just starting to understand the true nature of consciousness.
It's like the jump from standard definition to HD, right? A huge leap forward in clarity and detail. And maybe death is that kind of leap for the soul.
Exactly. And so it all leads back to this key idea that Darius Wright keeps emphasizing. Death is not the end. It's a door, not a wall.
He says he's seen what's on the other side, and it's not nothingness. It's a transition, a continuation.
Which totally challenges our fear of death, right?
For sure. We're taught to avoid it, to see it as this terrifying enemy. But what if it's not?
Well, he suggests it's all just programming, cosmic fake news that's been fed to us.
It makes you think, if death is a natural part of existence, why are we so afraid of it?
It's interesting to look at different cultures, right? Some cultures embrace death, they celebrate life, they have this understanding that death is not the end. But in our culture, it's this big taboo.
Like it's this scary monster in the closet.
Yeah, and maybe that fear is just a viral meme that's infected our thinking, making us afraid of something that might actually be, pretty amazing.
Right. And it all comes back to Darius Wright's personal experience. He had this out-of-body experience that totally shifted his perspective on death.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so he describes being outside of his body, floating in this infinite space, and he sees the end of another existence, one that he felt connected to, almost like it was a past life.
Wow.
But he says there was no pain, no darkness, just this smooth, effortless transition, like changing clothes.
That's a powerful image, just shedding the old and putting on the new.
And his main takeaway from this experience is that death is basically a change of state, like moving from one room to another. The body stays behind, but your consciousness, you move on.
He also uses a video game analogy, right? Like changing avatars. The player is still there, the consciousness is the same, but the experience is now through a different form.
Or even like a game over screen. It's not the end of the game, just a pause before you hit continue.
I like that. It's a temporary setback, not a final defeat.
And this whole experience completely changed how Darius Wright sees death. It's not termination, it's a level change, a continuation of the journey.
So he's not denying the grief and loss that people feel when someone dies, but he says the fear of death itself comes from not understanding what's really happening.
And he has this great quote, "When you realize that you continue, everything changes. You stop living as if you're racing against time and start living as if time were just a detail.
That's beautiful. It really challenges our whole relationship with time, doesn't it?
For sure. He even suggests that time, as we experience it, might be an illusion, a way for our brains to organize experience, but not an ultimate reality.
Right, think about it. When you're doing something you love, time flies. When you're bored or suffering, time drags on forever. It's subjective.
Totally. Maybe eternity isn't something we enter after death, but something that's always there, and death just removes the filters that prevent us from seeing it.
Mind-blowing.
So not only did Darius Wright experience death as a transition, but he also felt this incredible expansion of consciousness, this connection to something much bigger than himself.
He talks about it like a cosmic prank, the illusion of separation. We think we're all these individual, isolated beings, but really we're all connected, all part of this one big thing.
Like actors in a giant cosmic play. We each have our roles, our scenes, but death isn't the end of the play, just the end of our part in it.
That's a great way to think about it.
And during his out-of-body experience, Darius Wright describes being enveloped in this incredible light. And it wasn't just light, it was connection. He felt connected to everything.
Wow.
And he realized that death wasn't about losing anything, it was about gaining something. It was like returning home after a long journey.
A homecoming.
Exactly. He uses this beautiful analogy of a raindrop falling back into the ocean. The raindrop doesn't disappear, it just merges back into the vastness from which it came. And he even hints at these more, mystical ideas, like maybe death is a portal to a secret garden where the rules of reality are different, where we can fly, talk to animals, experience things we can't even imagine here.
It's like all the limitations are removed, and we're free to explore pure possibility.
So here's the big question for you, the listener. If even a small part of what Darius Wright is saying is true, if death isn't the end, how would you live differently? How would that change your priorities?
Yeah, it's a game changer, right? If we're not so afraid of dying, what becomes important?
Darius Wright talks about the malleability of time, how all moments might exist at once, like a giant cosmic pizza with all the slices laid out. We just experience one slice at a time, but maybe all those slices are always there.
Makes you think about time travel, doesn't it?
Totally. And when Darius Wright was in that light, surrounded by other presences, feeling this deep connection to everything, he realized that death wasn't an ending, it was an awakening. It was a return to the wholeness that we've never truly left.
And that brings us to a question for you, the viewer. Have you ever had an experience that made you question reality? A moment of insight, a dream, a deep connection with nature or another person?
What if those experiences are glimpses of the truth, glimpses of what's waiting for us on the other side?
What if the secret to happiness is accepting death? Not fearing it, but seeing it as a natural part of life, a transition to something even greater.
Think about it. If you knew for sure that you were eternal, how would you live your life? Would you be so worried about the little things? Would you be more present, more focused on what truly matters?
Imagine living with that kind of freedom. No fear, just infinite possibility.
Darius Wright says, imagine living knowing that you are eternal, fear disappears, and what remains is freedom. And that's the point, isn't it? This isn't just about not being afraid of death, it's about having the courage to truly live.
Absolutely.
So if you're finding this conversation as fascinating as we are, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you're feeling the good vibes, smash that like button and share this deep dive with your friends.
Let's spread the word about these mind-expanding ideas.
Exactly. We need to have these conversations, and we want to hear from you. So leave a comment below and tell us your thoughts, your experiences, anything that comes up for you.
Your insights are valuable.
Absolutely. And now, back to Darius Wright. He suggests that what we've been talking about, all these insights, these experiences, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There are deeper truths hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered.
He uses this analogy of a secret code embedded in reality, a code that starts to reveal itself to those who are willing to question the conventional narratives and look deeper.
Like a cosmic puzzle waiting to be solved. And maybe death is the key that unlocks the secrets of the universe.
Pretty exciting thought, right?
Totally. So the big question is, are you ready for the adventure? Are you ready to discover the truth, even if it challenges everything you thought you knew?
I think we're ready.
So just to recap, Darius J. Wright offers this incredibly empowering and hopeful perspective on death. He suggests that it's not an ending, but a transition, a continuation, an expansion.
A shedding of limitations, a homecoming, a return to wholeness.
And he challenges our perception of time, saying it might be an illusion, a construct, and not the ultimate reality.
And all of this leads us back to these really fundamental questions. How would you live differently if you knew you were eternal? What if the fear of death was no longer holding you back?
Have you ever had an experience that made you question the nature of reality?
What if the things that scare us the most are actually the things that can set us free?
And if the end is just the beginning, what are you waiting for?
In our next deep dive, we'll be exploring the hidden truths that Darius Wright says have been kept from from us.
So make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it.
It's going to be another mind-blowing journey.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, you are eternal.
If you enjoyed this exploration of Darius Wright's ideas, give us a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and leave a comment below with your thoughts and experiences.
And for those of you who want to go even deeper, we have a special ebook with even more insights and practices from Darius Wright. You can find the link in the pinned comment below.
And take a look at the 2 videos that are popping up on your screen right now. Click on the one that calls to you and continue your journey of self-discovery.
Thanks for joining us on The Quantum Soul. We'll see you next time.
See you in the next deep dive.